Under Chapter 1, General Provisions of the Texas Penal Code, Section 1.02 provides for the general purposes of the criminal law. Let's take a look at these 6 provisions. To ensure public safety, to give fair warning of what is prohibited, to prescribe penalties that are proportionate to the seriousness of the offense, to safeguard conduct that is without condemnation, to guide or limit the exercise of official discretion, and to define the scope of state interest against specific offenses. So, in short, we could summarize the purpose of law by saying that laws maintain order, they constrain human behavior, they enforce morals and values, they sustain individual rights, redress wrongs, and they mandate a punishment. So let's talk really quickly about the sources of law. Where does it come from? There are 3 main types of law that we'll concern ourselves with. They're not the only types of law, but we're going to talk about 3. These are statutory law, case law, and common law. Statutory law is the written or codified law. These laws start off as bills passed through a legislative body and are signed into a law by the executive, which is going to be either the president for the federal level or a governor at the state level. If I click over here, you can look at all of these. This is Texas statutes, all of these codes. All of this is statutory law. Some of this is related specifically to education or to alcoholic beverages, parks and wildlife. And then we have right here the penal code. So when we talk about statutory law, all of these codes are examples of statutory law. The penal code is just statutory law that specifically concerns itself with criminal law. Another example of law is case law. This is another source. Case law is the law that comes from court decisions. It's not codified in the same way as statutory law because it derives from judicial interpretations of law. So an example of case law would be the well-known case Miranda versus Arizona. In that case, the court held that the Fifth Amendment requires law enforcement officials to advise suspects of their right to remain silent in a custodial interrogation. That language is not found literally in the Fifth Amendment. It is interpreted by the context of the Fifth Amendment. So that's case law. Finally, let's talk about common law. Sometimes you'll see common law used synonymously with case law because they look the same, but common law is a broader idea than case law. Common law is law that originates from usage and custom rather than written statutes. While much of common law derives from judicial decisions like case law, the main distinction we'll make is that common law, judges are not interpreting existing law, but rather creating decisions when disputes arise. So there you go, statutory law, case law, and common law. Be able to distinguish between those.